You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
US Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why US Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from US Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. Well, today what I think for the love of all things, I always turn that off, but every time you start a new one, it has the loop set. I don't know, whatever. We got a football game, folks. We got a football game to talk about. Ravens and the Chiefs. Let me do this professionally here. Pull up the game. I want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on the game before we get into some specifics about, the Green Bay Packers and whatnot. We got some news and notes about that, specifically about the injuries. For the most part, the boys just spent the day on an airplane. But Baltimore and Kansas City, we've got week 1 Thursday at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored to win. They are 3-point favorites. Over-under set at 47 points. We'll get into all the specifics of that. But I'm just excited that we got football back. I think this is going to be a great matchup. Unfortunately, I mean, we had, Chiefs and Lions last year, and it ended up being an absolute freaking disgrace because the Chiefs ended up not having 2 of their best 3 players on the team and just played like absolute dog crap, and the Lions just flubbed their way into a victory. It was such complete, utter garbage. Anyways, we don't seem to be having that as a situation this time around. Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs should be a really good game. Aside from games that actually matter, rivals and whatnot, it's about as good a game as you could possibly imagine. I put this little betting article together on Twitter if you want to go look at it. It was more for me to use as notes, but if anybody feels like looking at it, it's here. Ravens vs. Chiefs, Week 1 analysis report. So I went through and found some statistics. Obviously, I had to plug it into the robot to get some thoughts on it and whatnot, but just some trend data. So I want to go over a couple of these different things and then give you my thoughts. First of all, obviously, most importantly, what people just want to know is who's going to win. But for those of you looking to put a buck here or there, I'll give you some thoughts. So first of all, head-to-head, Ravens against the Chiefs. The Ravens are 5-8. So 38.5% win rate. That's obviously out of their last, 13 games. The Ravens are 6-7 against the spread, which is 46.2%. And the over hit 54.5%. So the Chiefs win, 70%, 80%, 60% of the time. But they don't cover the spread quite as much, just 46.2%. Then we get down to Week 1 performance. How did these teams do Week 1? In their last 10 seasons, the Ravens are 7-3 straight up and against the spread. The Chiefs are 8-2, 80% straight up, but just 6-4, 60% against the spread. So you notice there's a pattern here. Chiefs are really good, not quite as good when you're talking about against the spread. They're good against the Ravens, not quite as good against the spread. How do the Ravens perform as underdogs since 2017? They win just 47.8% of the time, but they cover the spread 82.6% of the time, which is crazy. They lose more often than they win when they're underdogs, but they almost always cover the spread. The over is 52.4%. The Chiefs, as home favorites since 2017, they win 77% of the time, but they cover just 52% of the time. So again, the Ravens, when they're underdogs, cover the spread almost 83% of the time. The Chiefs cover the spread just basically a coin flip, 50-50. On Thursday games, the Ravens are 4-2, 66.7% win and cover. The Chiefs on Thursdays are 6-3 straight up, so they win 66.7%, but they're just 55.6% when they cover. And then we got some high game totals or whatever. So here's kind of the bottom line. Most of this points to the Chiefs winning. The Chiefs are 80%, but that encompasses 2 losses, one of which was pre-Pat Mahomes. The other one was last year in that ridiculous fake football game that doesn't really mean anything. The Ravens versus Chiefs, it's very heavily in the Chiefs column as far as wins go. I'm going to be rooting for the Ravens in this game, just to be clear. I much prefer the Ravens. I'm sick of the Chiefs, et cetera, et cetera. I would be very happy if the Ravens won this game. But historically, there's almost nothing that points in that direction. So if you're just asking me who I think is going to win, the answer is the Kansas City Chiefs. Here's the reason why I wouldn't bet the Chiefs to win on the on either against the spread or straight up. Against the spread because the numbers do not go in their favor once you start talking against the spread. And then as far as betting them to win, the problem is a good value for them, based on some of the statistics that I found, is closer to minus 125. 151 is just not a good value, in my opinion. This is not a fact of any kind. It's just based on the numbers that I found. The math does not check out. So I would not be betting the Chiefs, although I do think they're going to win. I think potentially the absolute best bet here is to bet the Ravens at +3. Again, if you go through it, the Ravens-Chiefs is pretty much a 50-50 when you're looking against the spread. It's a little bit in the Chiefs' favor, but it's 46% for the Ravens. The Ravens against the spread week 1, 70%. The Chiefs, 60%. Ravens, when they're underdogs, 82.6% they cover. Chiefs, 52.3% when they're home favorites they cover. Thursday games, Ravens cover 66.7, Chiefs 55.6. So that's the one I put a little bit of money on. There's also some, certainly less confident, but I have 126 as exactly the number I came up with for a good value for the Ravens. So if you feel like throwing a little bit in that direction, especially if you're going to, bet on them anyways, you could try to juice up that a little bit. But I not exactly my favorite. I'm not going to do it because again, I think the Chiefs are going to win the game. So that's my thoughts on Chiefs and Ravens. I don't know how much I'm going to be doing this. We'll see. I do enjoy this. Playing with the numbers, look at all the history and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, the most important thing is going to be weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, when we have actual data from this year. There's a lot of things that have changed, but still, the historical data is pretty consistent over the years and can kind of give you a little bit of a picture. It's the best information that we have as far as week 1 is concerned. So I think that's about all I've got on that. Obviously, pay attention to weather, injuries, all that good stuff. But we got football. I'm excited about it. Can't wait to watch it. Until about 5 minutes in, I'm going to be bored. But yeah. Anyways, and keep an eye out for your fantasy football teams as well. I'm seeing some of the injuries are already starting to roll in before the season even starts. So I always try to make sure my fantasy football leagues are as late as is humanly possible, just for the sake of watching out for that, but it doesn't matter. You can push it up to right before kickoff, and there's still going to be a bunch of injuries week one that are going to sideline you. But I'll tell you what, let's take a little bit of an early break here, and then we'll come back and talk about some of the other news and notes that we've got prepared for today. U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started. Kick off the 2024 football season with Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. It's the easiest way to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch your winnings roll in. This September, get automatic win every week by picking Caleb Williams to get just 1 passing yard. That's right, 4 weeks of free wins, but only if you jump on it before September ends. And don't forget, you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks even has injury insurance, so if your player leaves the game early, you're still in the game. I've been loving Prize Picks, my go-to for simple, fast, and fun fantasy action. When my picks hit, I get paid in as little as 15 minutes. Download Prize Picks now and use code PACKDADDY to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code PACKDADDY for $50 guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Remember, Prize Picks is a skill-based fantasy game, making your lineups just got a whole lot more exciting.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
All right, couple news and notesy things here about the NFL. Jamar Chase did finally suit up for Week 1. He still has not received his contract, where he apparently is asking for 1 penny more than whoever the highest was. I don't even remember anymore. Some talk about, like, we'll see what happens, but if he's practicing, I don't know exactly what the problem would be. Then we get to the 49ers. We got a deal done. 49ers and left tackle Trent Williams have agreed to restructure his 3-year, $82.66 million deal. The crazy thing about this, and we should probably just pull it up now, some talk about, like, these guys are screwed because of their cap or whatever. They already had, like, $50 million in cap space. If we look right now at 2024, that's not what it just said a minute ago. Whatever. They have a massive amount of cap space. They're loaded with cap space. So the idea that they're kind of in trouble because of we'll see, because maybe they got to hand out a few more contracts. But if you're going to pay Ayuk and you got everybody else, kind of paid, you're in a pretty good spot. And the thing about this is, if you look at 2025 and you think, well, that's when they're in trouble, it goes up to 51 largely because if we scroll down here, you can see the 2025 NFL salary cap is 273. Their roster is 251, so they're okay, but their rollover is $45.6 million, assuming they don't spend anymore, which they may, but still, they have the second most amount of cap space right now that they can carry over to next season. So their adjusted salary cap for next year, as of right now, is almost $319 million compared to their $252 million roster, leaving them $51 million after paying, Trent and Ayuk and all these guys. So I don't necessarily think they're in a tough spot financially. I didn't do a massive deep dive. I was just kind of curious because some people had mentioned it. We'll see who all is coming up and what's going to happen. But it's just a lot of weird things going on with the 49ers. It kind of started a long time ago when people were talking about, I don't know, it feels like they're about to start coming back down. And even now, a lot of people are looking at it. I saw, I forget her name, one of the analysts or whatever, Cynthia Freeland, I think it was, had the Eagles number 1 ahead of the 49ers. I've seen the Lions ahead of the 49ers. I've seen a lot of people ahead of the 49ers who you would assume are just sort of the automatic until somebody can prove otherwise. I don't really, as much as I cannot stand the 49ers, I don't really see a reason for this. And then there was I don't know if it's just the Ayuk thing that everybody freaked out about, but again, that's pretty common for them to, maybe it got dragged out a little longer than usual, but to basically say, no, we're not doing that, let people test the market, and then they come back and they get paid in San Francisco. But yeah, so there was a lot of talk about, number one, they're about to decline. I don't fully understand why. Again, didn't super deep dive into it, but it didn't really make sense. Then there was they're screwed as far as their salary cap. I don't see that at all. And then number 3 is this little gem here. This is, and by the way, this guy here, I know of him. He first of all, he pumps out a ridiculous amount of content. This guy has got, I went and looked at it one time. I like 15 videos a day kind of thing. He also got into a huge spat with a football player at one point. So, he's very hated in the locker room. I think he had made some comments about somebody. I don't remember who it was, but I remember he was on the sideline of a game one day, and one of the players why don't you say that to my face or something like that. So, he's a pretty controversial figure, but he says, and let me just play it here.
I have some breaking news. I just spoke to a source who's close to the 49ers, and this is exactly what he told me. I'm hearing the front office is extremely upset with the current financial status of the team, with the salary cap, and the Ayuk and Trent contracts. It's Super Bowl or bust, and if it's bust, then heads will roll. The Lynch and Shanahan regime is on the hot seat, and it's hotter than ever. Take it for what it's worth. This source hasn't done me wrong yet. He told me this offseason that the Niners would be signing Logan Thomas before they did, and then he told me a couple of weeks ago that Jake Tonjes would be making the team before anyone else knew that. So 2 for 2, now he's telling me that the front office, I guess ownership, is upset with Lynch and Shanahan about all the spending that's happened this offseason. I guess if this report is true, and I have no reason to believe it's not, the front office, Parag, Jed, his parents, were maybe hoping that they could spend a little less this offseason if they had, won the Super Bowl last year. But they didn't win the Super Bowl, and they're so desperate to just keep the team the same. They're not even really trying to get better. They're just trying to keep the team the same.
All right, we don't need to keep on going with that, but you get the idea. Again, no idea why that would be a thing. I mean, it would be, and again, my assumption was this is completely untrue. I saw several other people, 49ers people, saying, say what you want, but I'm hearing the same things. Again, I don't know if they're reputable. I don't know 49ers people really well, aside from Grant Cohen, who I just know is controversial. I don't know if he's good or bad or what, but I just don't understand what the problem would be. Maybe you don't like John Lynch. That's possible. But Kyle Shanahan, you're going to blow this thing up because you're not getting to the Super Bowl, I mean, come on. I don't know, man. I just don't 100% see that. Then we got this. We've been on a roll. I mean, I'm not trying to do this. It's just one thing after another snowballing here, making fun of the Cowboys. This is from Gridiron Heroics. A lot of it comes from this article here from The Athletic. This is not the same one as before. The Athletic article that talked to, was it agents that made fun of the Cowboys? This is different. This is NFL decision makers predictions for 2024. And it's a whole bunch of stuff. But just going through this here, a couple of the notes. So first of all, hilariously, the Packers broke the Cowboys. I mean, just absolutely broke them. Jerry Jones even said as much. He said, I admit this, the Green Bay thing. When we lost the Green Bay game, we basically had everybody say, okay, what are we going to do about this? Okay, this wasn't just a game. What are you going to do about this? And so it got the attention of everything we do. The Packers game shook this franchise to its core. It's the reason why, I think it's the reason Dak doesn't have a contract. It specifically says that this is the reason that Mike McCarthy did not get an extension because of that game. So the Packers just screwing Mike McCarthy a second time. But then it goes on to say, an AFC scout, per Matt Lombardo, even went so far as to say the Dallas Cowboys will finish third in their division, which is a heck of a thing to say when outside of the Eagles, you have Washington and the Giants. That's quite a thing. It says the Cowboys received the most votes by far to be one of the teams to fall off this season. A specific anonymous executive highlighted the loss of their defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, is one of the major reasons for concern. It says, losing the defensive coordinator is going to be a huge deal, and I think it's a big difference in scheme from what they did before. They're plenty talented. It's just a hard place to win. Dallas took 9 of 21 votes from the anonymous members around the NFL. While the Cowboys have been solid in the regular season, it's highly reasonable that the team would take a step back after such a rough loss in the postseason. So, yeah, it's a pretty glorious thing. Not only is a rival completely falling apart, but is really at the hand of the Green Bay Packers that made that a reality. Moving over to the Packers and Eagles now. If you needed a little bit of extra oomph to get excited about this game, not that anybody necessarily does, but about the Eagles in particular, Dave Spadaro wrote an article over from Eagles.com or whatever, Philadelphia Eagles, says, Eagles-Packers an underrated rivalry. And it goes on to essentially list all the horrible things the Eagles have done to the Packers. 1960 NFL Championship game, Eagles hold on to beat the Packers. 2003, 4th and 26, good Lord. 2019, late defensive stand, wins it for the Eagles. December of 2004, Donovan McNabb passes for 464 yards and 5 touchdowns. 2010, Kelly Green returns, Michael Vick emerges. 2022, Jalen Hurts slices and dices Green Bay. 2013, a huge game for quarterback Nick Foles. So I was looking through that and I was like, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. If I didn't already dislike this team as it was because of, their fan base and just being a rival in general, an NFC an NFC top team, or however you want to phrase that, that you start thinking 4th and 26. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's time to bury this freaking team. Found this article interesting. Brazil increases security for upcoming Eagles-Packers clash. Leaving aside all the opinions on the actual crime rates and everything else, I thought this was pretty cool. It says, obviously it goes through some of the concerns that people have about crime and everything else. It says, to guarantee the safety of the players, the military police will reinforce the numbers of personnel upon arrival of the delegations at the whatever airport and escort the teams to the hotel's training sites and the stadium. It says the Sao Paulo government said that they would send out civil and military police battalions to reinforce security during the game, and they would put police officers on streets and trains, subway stations, hotels, and tourist attractions. So that's pretty hardcore. Again, regardless of what you think about the situation out in Brazil, the fact that Brazil's like, bro, we're not playing around here. We're going to make sure you guys are safe. We're going to send out extra police and military battalions to make sure that that is the safest part of Brazil right now. There will be no crime going on at that location. So that's pretty wild. Anyways, let's real quick take our final break. I want to come back and talk about the some injury updates that we got. Some semi-bad news for the Green Bay Packers. Some seemingly really bad news for the Eagles. We'll get to that in just a moment. We'll be right back. Some injury report news here. The Green Bay Packers added Tucker Kraft to the injury report. They kind of mentioned that this is sort of a, I don't know what you'd call it, not a official injury report because the Packers are just traveling. So all these are just kind of projections. But Tucker Kraft was added. He has a back injury, so it's different than what he's been dealing with this entire OTA, which is a little bit frustrating. Remember, he had a pec injury. He tore his pec, I believe, exercising. But it sounds as though the plan is he should be okay to be able to play in the game. But it's a back injury, and you never really know because those can be a little bit fickle. The reason I downplay it a little bit is because I don't know that Tucker Kraft, at least from my perspective, this might not be Matt LaFleur's perspective, is a central piece of the plan. Maybe that's somewhat of an unfair way to say it. Obviously, he's a part of what Matt LaFleur wants to build in Green Bay. But I think, again, when you got Love and you got Josh Jacobs and you got your quadrupled of wide receivers, what the heck is after trio? Your quadro. And you got Musgrave, who's healthy, and you got your offensive line out there and everything else. I think you can manage, especially with Tucker Kraft being a maybe. So it sounds like if nothing else, it's going to be like a week. So I'm not as worried about it. Seemingly a bigger issue though for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I mentioned generally when you are a limited participant and whatnot, or you're questionable for the game, you should be good to go. Everything's going to be fine. Devin White though just got dropped to out. He didn't participate on Wednesday. So he did participate on Tuesday, did not participate on Wednesday. He must have re-injured it or something or tweaked it. I don't know what, but they just said he's 100% not playing. Now, you might be saying, well, that's nonsense. You said Devin White is garbage. Well, that's true, but think about it from this perspective. The Philadelphia Eagles, from what I've heard from Eagles fans and content creators, one of, if not the biggest issues on the team in general is linebacker. They're already generally unhappy with the linebacker position. Now you have Devin White, who is a free agent acquisition, go out. So now you're even in a worse position than you were. Now, from my perspective, I would probably rather have this guy starting to begin with, but it looks like Nakobe Dean, the guy that was drafted the same year as Quay, I think a lot of people wanted him to go instead of Quay. He ended up actually going in the third round, pick 83. But he's actually seemingly grading out fairly well. He's not played a ton, just 220 snaps. He primarily played in 2023, and it was just 5 games that he played. The coverage was really awful. Preseason, by the way, his preseason grades are out of control. It's like straight 90s. But the coverage grade was a 49, which lowered his overall grade. But his run defense grade was 80. Tackling is a 90, and pass rush was 83. Now, again, it's a very small sample size. And if you just look at his overall grades for 5 games, it was 60, 70, 50, 50, 60. So, whatever. I mean, for whatever reason, the Eagles didn't necessarily feel like they could trust him. They went out and got 2 additional free agent linebackers to essentially put in front of him. But now with the injury, it looks like Nakobe Dean's going to have to step up and play a larger role in this game, which presumably is a good thing for the Packers. We'll have to see. If for no other reason, they weren't really planning on Nakobe Dean being that guy, and now they have to make some pretty quick adjustments. Not on top of the fact that they don't feel like he's the best option for the team. So I'm hoping that opens up some opportunities, especially when you look at coverage, which I think is a big part of the reason why they had Devin White to begin with. Devin White is a speed guy. Again, PFF absolutely hates him. I think PFF generally hates these style of linebackers. I don't know if it's just a hiccup in their grading system that disagrees with the way the NFL evaluates these type of linebackers. But that's his whole thing. He's a really fast, athletic linebacker. So you would assume that his job is more of a coverage guy, and to have Nakobe Dean come in and presumably not be very good at all, potentially that opens up some opportunities, whether that be some of our receivers, whether that be the tight ends being guarded by the linebackers, or even Josh Jacobs. Again, remember, the Packers want to use Josh Jacobs more in that role. And so possibly if you can get some one-on-one matchups with Jacobs and and Nakobe Dean, maybe that's going to be something for the Packers to really cue in on. But they're going to have to take a pretty close look at that, and hopefully you can take advantage of that. All right, well, we went from having no calls to having 22 calls, largely thanks to Thomas Austin and a few other people that got a bunch of calls in. But we have, I believe, a new caller for the first time in a long time, so I'm very excited about that. Why don't we get to that? I want to make sure that we're caught up on these, because once it gets to be game time, I want to make sure we have 0 calls pending so that we can be, very current with this. So, new caller, what's going on, man? Oh, get out of my way. Here we go.
Hey, Ryan, this is Travis Jervey's Tiger. Years back when Mike Holmgren was the coach, there was a running back on the team, and his name was Travis Jervey. Travis owned a tiger, and I am that tiger. I'm a first-time caller, so I
feel like
go
we've
directly
talked
to the
before.
front of the line. I'm 51 years old in tiger years.
I missed you,
and
dude.
I'm calling today because I'm very emotional about this. Kind of like you, I'm really worried about the home field advantage at Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, just to be clear, I am an owner of the Green Bay Packers.
Yep, I understand.
I have the stock certificate, the piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's up on the wall of my cage. But when I watch home games on television, just like you, I'm very upset. I'm very emotional about this.
Yeah.
But I'm very upset when fans are sitting and not making noise.
Yep.
And I mean, the problem for me is I cannot attend these games.
Yeah.
I see
You're in a cage, yeah.
I see them, but they don't let me in. They can't let me into the stadium, because I'm a Tiger.
On account of being a Tiger.
And
yeah.
there's some nonsense about legal liability or something. But you can understand why I'm really excited about fixing this, and about seeing people at Lambeau not doing their jobs on game day, where they're sitting and not cheering. And so what I want to do is I want names. Because I'm an owner, I want to know the names of the people who own the tickets.
Yep.
And I want to see kind of like an interactive map maybe on the internet where I can just be like, hey, who's not cheering? Mm-hmm. And I can just click on that so I know who's not doing their jobs. I don't know. This might be public shaming, and I know that we're not really here for this, but I do want them to do their jobs. But I do want names, and I want it seat by seat by seat by seat. I don't know. It's just an idea. Thanks for letting me vent. Again, this is, I'm Travis Jervey's Tiger. I am an owner of the team, and I'm 51 years old, and I really am excited about the Packers season coming up this year. Okay, gotta go. Meow for now.
Oh, I miss those calls so much. I appreciate the new number so we can go to the front of the line. That is some of like... You ever listen to something that is really, really funny? And it's like, well, why aren't you laughing? And it's like, it's... I don't know how to explain it. It's... I don't want to say brilliant because that might be over the top, but I just really appreciate that little skit so much. Oh, it's so good. It's good stuff. 51 years old, really emotional. No, I do agree. We should publicly shame these people, and with you being an owner, I think you do have authority to have the Packers set that up. It's going to cost some money. It may take some time for them to raise the funds to be able to set up the site. I don't know if that would be a personal site for you or if that's public for everyone to see, where you can click on a seat and see if they're cheering or however that works, or at the very least you can just see on the television they're not cheering, find that seat, click on it, find out who it is, and then we'll figure out what to do from there. But I'm so glad the season's back. This is good stuff. Fat Albert, what's going on, man?
Ryan, what's up, man? Fat Albert here.
How you doing?
Hey, dude. Thanks for, again, everything you do. Always awesome.
Thank you.
Getting excited for this Brazil game. Can't believe it's finally week 1. I'm also really appreciative of everything that Pedro's been doing in terms of calling in.
Yeah, man.
And had a couple ideas. One, maybe Pedro could share a couple recipes for tailgating. When I was down in Brazil, I spent some time, working on the World Cup and some other things. First of all, the people are awesome. The food's amazing. It's a great country, and just like we have in the U.S., they have a distinct way of doing things, and it works for them, which is fine. So I definitely wanted to second, your thoughts on just respecting the country and the people. Secondarily, just thinking about all the line on the game and the Eagles banter, how the Eagles are laying 3 on this is kind of beside me.
I don't understand at all.
I don't think the off-season moves did them much. And, hey, let them think about us as underdogs all day long. I think we're in for some surprises. So thanks again, and look forward to your reactions. Take care, man. See you, bye.
First of all, what do you think about this? Check this out. This is, it's a little slow dragging this over. And I don't intend or mean to advertise here, but maybe I get some meat from here once in a while. USDA prime beef picanha, $30, $9.98 a pound. That's not bad, dude. USDA prime for Brazil Day. You know what I mean? Getting some picanha. I feel like, hold up, they might even have some like Brazilian something. Like sausage or something, you know what I mean? Look at that. Brazilian style calabresa sausage. Brazilian beef ribeye cap. I mean, let's just get all this crap, you know what I mean? I don't even know what that means. Brazilian beef whole peeled tenderloin. It looks like a normal beef tenderloin. Why is it Brazilian? Oh, it's a product from Brazil. Well, there you go. I don't know if that counts. But picanha and some calabresa sausage. I mean, I think it's $5. It's only like these 2 pieces, but kids probably won't eat it that much anyways. I think we got to do it. For the game, we'll be doing a live stream. We'll have picanha and Brazilian sausage. I mean, I think we got to do that. I don't know what you guys think. I do want to hear from Pedro, though, for sure. Let me know some thoughts on some other things we can do. Keep in mind, we probably don't have access to a lot of the stuff, and it's also last minute, so any thoughts on some stuff we could probably whip up to be a little bit authentic and really celebrate the game, let us know. As far as the Eagles getting 3, listen, I just think the general consensus is whatever issue the Eagles had is gone. And so you're getting the 10-1 Eagles. And I think that people generally look at, the team that was playing in the playoffs, the team that beat the Cowboys but lost to the 49ers, that Packers team against the 10-1 Eagles. And when you look at that, to be fair, 10-1 Eagles were a dominant team, so being just a 3-point underdog to a elite football team I think there's still some level of respect there. Again, I don't know if I fully buy it. I think that they should have to prove it. I think there's no way I'd put any money on them because I would need to see it first. Once I see the Eagles are kind of like back, cool. But until then, I'm not doing it. But if that's the assumption they're using, it's either that or they don't trust the Eagles and they just think the Packers suck. I don't know, man. The thought process is not my thought process. That's the bottom line. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm trying to understand it. I don't fully understand it.
Ryan, hey, Pat Albert again.
What's up?
Sorry. I love it when I call in and forget the original point I was going to make.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Getting old rocks.
Look how
Anyway,
good that looks.
all the drama around the Eagles locker room last year, how the whole thing was falling apart. And, Coach and Jalen Hurts have this horrible, Sirianni and Hurts have this horrible relationship that's fractured and drama. And then all of a sudden, crickets. So, to me, I guess typically one of the way I think the media would work is, especially with the Eagles being favored, wouldn't you think that, hey, the Eagles have come a long way and wow, they mended some fences and, wow, they're really excited for the year. You hear none of that. Now, to me, that means still something's rotten in Stinkville, because usually you hear the complete counter narrative coming out, especially, the way the teams media tends to want to jump on whoever is playing the Packers and ride that train. So I don't think everything's fixed yet. My 2 cents. Anyway, thanks again, man. See you. Bye.
Yeah, that's another good point. I mean, again, your thought process and my thought process is obviously different than the people here, and it actually looks like the Eagles are -2 right now, so I think it's kind of moved back a little bit, which is interesting. I think it opened at 1.5, moved to 3, and it's kind of all over the place, but it looks like 2 to 2.5 is kind of what you're getting right now, so it did swing back a little bit. But no, I mean, that is another point of this. I brought it up briefly on another episode a while ago, but there was a whole lot of tension and stuff. And again, even in the articles, like, oh, but, they're probably fine now. Like, what? I mean, maybe, but it was bad. It was really bad. And not just the coaches that left. I mean, we're talking like the head coach and guys that are still there and the quarterback in particular. Being really upset with Jalen and saying, essentially pointing fingers at each other. Jalen being upset with the play calling and everything else, and the coach and other people being upset with Jalen. Well, he's not listening to my calls, and he's not playing with instruction, which, by the way, if that's the problem, why would you fire your offensive coordinator? If he's doing his job, but the quarterback's not doing, I don't understand. And then if that is the case, then it was all for show, and there's no reason to believe that this new offensive coordinator is going to fix anything because the quarterback, kind of like that Rodgers situation, it doesn't matter what plays you call if the dude's going to call his own plays anyways. I don't know. But yeah, man, I'm with you 100%. I get it. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to watch and see. And if the Eagles win, we throw up our hands and say, dang it. And if the Packers win, we all come right back here. We'll meet. We'll set a time, call in, and we'll all talk about how we frickin' told everybody that they're stupid. And, we do a little victory lap for a week and just have a good old time. It's going to be a party. I hope we win. I really do. Let's do one more. Let's get to Randy from Minnesota.
Hi, Ryan. It's Randy from Minnesota.
What's up?
Hope you're having a good day.
I'm doing all right.
I just have one question. I've never really got an answer. When teams have to fly overseas or down to Brazil, do the teams have to pick up the costs, or does the NFL pick up the costs, or is there some kind of cost sharing thing going on? I just had an idea that the teams always had to pay for everything, but then I thought, well, if the NFL's trying to expand the market, they might be picking up part of the tab too. I know it's expensive, but I was interested if you had any knowledge of how this is taken care of, or if anybody else that's listening might know. Anyway, it's just one real simple question, and can't wait till Friday. Go Pack, go. Bye.
It's a good question, and I hadn't really even considered it. I guess I would have just assumed, especially when you're talking, within the country, that the teams would just pick it up. It's not it's relatively equal. It sucks if you're a coastal team, I guess, but I I wouldn't have thought the NFL would cover it, but you make a good point. If you're going to push this overseas stuff, and especially push teams like, I mean, it's especially when you're talking an entire team. You say, oh, well, the cost of a ticket, big deal. Yeah, but think about how massive the ticket is times not just every single player, but all the coaches, all the staff, everybody that has to go along with. That's a lot more money. Let me give you the answer that the robot gave me, which I generally trust. When NFL teams fly out of the country for international games, the NFL typically covers the cost associated with travel, accommodations, and logistics. This includes flights, hotels, meals, and other necessary expenses for the team, staff, and support personnel. The league takes care of these arrangements as part of its effort to promote the NFL globally and ensure that teams can focus on the game rather than the complexities of international travel. So that's exactly as you said, presumably. I would type it in now if I wasn't in the middle of talking, but let's just assume, presumably, the teams handle all this stuff. But because this is something the NFL is pushing, it's probably some level of negotiation thing. Like, bro, I understand you want to go to you're putting all this extra strain on us. We get no benefit out of this, by the way. We have to fly our team all the way to another country, and we have to foot the bill for that? Dude, BS. So, yeah, that's a very good question. I hadn't even considered it, and in the robot we trust. I trust what the robot is saying. I'll have to further verify that, but it sounds like that is something the NFL worked out. And it makes sense. Again, as a team, why would you ever want to take on that burden and additional cost for no benefit whatsoever? And then think about a team like the Eagles, who are not only giving up everything, they're giving up a home game on top of it. I mean, at least for the Packers, they're turning an away game into a neutral field game. The Eagles are giving up a home game to go to Brazil, play at a place where the Packers are probably going to have a lot more fans, and you got to pay for that privilege? That's ridiculous. So, good question. Appreciate that. Why don't we get out of here? I will talk to you later. I don't know if I have time for Packernet After Dark tonight, so we're going to have to really hammer some calls tomorrow. But I hope you guys enjoy the game tomorrow, the Chiefs and Baltimore Ravens and whatnot. No, this isn't Packernet After Dark, so you're hearing it tomorrow. The game today, Chiefs and Baltimore Ravens, and we got one more sleep, man. One more sleep, and we got the Green Bay Packers. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Have a good